ChatGerry Entropy and VMT Research Method, number 1525, VPT 082, the 6th of February 2026, Gerald C. EclaireMD Foundation, Category Methodology. Introduction. I write this paper to answer a practical question I keep asking myself. Do I really need the entropy concept inside my VMT research method? Or is viscoplastic energy already sufficient to explain what I observe in chronic disease? Major mortality diseases, aging, and longevity. This is not a debate about terminology. It is a question about usefulness. If a concept helps readers understand reality more clearly and guides better thinking, I keep it. If it adds explanation but not clarity, I keep it in the background. In this article, I do three things. First, I revisit a classic and intuitive picture of entropy. Second, I map that picture directly to viscoplastic energy. Third, I explain why viscoplastic energy should remain my primary research tool, while entropy serves only as a supporting concept. A simple picture of entropy. When I explain entropy, I do not begin with equations. I begin with an ice cube in a warm room. At the start, the ice cube has structure. Its molecules are arranged in an orderly pattern, and energy is concentrated. As time passes, heat flows from the room into the ice. The ice melts. The structure disappears. The molecules move more freely. The key point is not disorder. The key point is direction. Once the ice has melted, I cannot simply wait for it to become ice again. To reverse the process, I must apply external work, such as running a freezer to remove heat. That work costs energy. This is the essence of entropy. It describes irreversibility. It explains why time moves forward in real physical systems. What entropy means in practical terms. In thermodynamics, entropy is linked to how energy spreads and becomes less available for useful work. As energy is used up, the system loses its ability to return to a prior state unless external energy is applied in a controlled way. Entropy does not cancel out like a simple plus or minus score. In natural processes, it tends to accumulate in one direction. This is why entropy is often described as the arrow of time. Why viscoplastic energy is the biological partner of entropy. Now I turn to my core tool, viscoplastic energy and viscoplastic medicine theory. In engineering, elastic deformation is reversible. When the stress is removed, the material returns to its original shape. Plastic deformation is different. It falls into a permanent range and does not fully recover. Once the elastic limit is exceeded, part of change remains. That energy is spent and cannot be recovered. This is why viscoplastic energy represents irreversible change or permanent damage. When I study chronic diseases, I see the same pattern. Early dysfunction may behave like elastic deformation and can be corrected. Repeated body weight above limits, repeated glucose spikes, and repeated high blood pressure gradually push the system into plastic change, even when stress is reduced later. The system does not fully return to its previous baseline. This is why viscoplastic energy fits aging and chronic disease so well. It naturally describes cumulative damage over time. My direct mapping between entropy and viscoplastic energy. The mapping is simple. Entropy tracks how usable energy is used up and spread out over time. Viscoplastic energy tracks how the body itself is permanently changed and damaged over time. The differences between energy loss and bodily damage both obey the same logic. Time matters. History matters. Damage accumulates. Reversal is harder later than earlier, and it requires external work. Entropy is the universal law of irreversibility. Viscoplastic energy is my tool to study for reversibility inside the human body. Why this matters for pathophysiology. Traditional pathophysiology describes many disease processes well, but modern practice often relies on snapshots and labels rather than trajectories. Two people can have the same lab value today and very different futures. This leads to confusion. Why does early disease respond well to lifestyle change, while late disease does not? Why do repeated spikes matter more than averages? The answer lies in accumulated irreversible burden. Snapshots miss history. Longitudinal analysis captures it. Watching a disease trajectory is like watching a movie instead of a single frame. Viscoplastic energy forces a time-based view. It makes longitudinal data essential, not optional. Early versus late intervention. Explain simply. Early stage systems have more reserve and less accumulated damage. More changes remain reversible. Late stage systems have less reserve and more accumulated damage. More changes have become irreversible. This asymmetry is not psychological. It is physical. Entropy explains it. VMT energy measures it. Do I need entropy inside my VMT model? My answer is clear. Viscoplastic energy is sufficient. It already provides a time-based, cumulative, one-direction view of irreversible change. It is measurable and actionable. Entropy adds validation, not variables. It confirms that irreversibility and time direction are fundamental laws, not modeling choices. But it does not improve prediction or provide patient-level metrics. Therefore, entropy remains secondary. How topology completes my VPT model. In November 2025, during stroke recovery, I named my combined models, VMT plus TDA, to become the VPT framework, viscoplastopology. I realized that VMT and TDA address two different aspects of the same problem. VMT measures how much irreversible burden has accumulated. Topology shows when the system structure has changed so much that reversibility is no longer the same. Topology reveals phase change. VMT measures the energy cost of reaching it. Entropy sits behind both as the deep physical explanation. Together, they allow me to define a practical engineering concept, the point of no return, which marks the transition from a manageable chronic condition to end-stage failure. Conclusion: viscoplastic energy is my primary research tool. Entropy is a secondary validator. Entropy is the law of the universe. VMT is the balance sheet of a patient's health. I cannot change the law, but I can measure the balance sheet. Entropy explains the universe. Viscoplastopology explains the patient. In VPT, viscoplasticity is the quantitative engine, topology is the structural lens, and entropy is the background law. Disclaimer: I write this paper not for fame, but to share what I have learned so others can understand their health, prevent disease, and live longer, healthier lives. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author. Gerald C. This content is provided for educational reference only and does not constitute medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is created. You may share this summary freely, but it must not be altered, edited, or republished as your own. All intellectual property rights and copyrights for this article and its related materials belong to the author, Gerald C.